Try to initiate release sequencer. On my mark. 5.
We're on express elevator to hell. Going down.
2. 1. Mark.
Hello everyone, my name is Mark, aka Derringer. Today is Sunday, December 15th, and you are listening to episode 239 of the Instant Action Podcast, your weekly source for Planetside news and information. As always, I'm brought to you by great listeners like you via the Support the Show tab on instantactionpodcast.com. So what's been going on with me this week? Well, I guess not a heck of a lot. I mean, Christmas is right around the corner. I don't know about you guys, but every weekend is spent at the mall or at department stores or whatever, trying to figure out what I'm getting for the various people in my life for Christmas. Unfortunately, many of them are not easy to shop for, so I'm sure you're all in the same boat as me, but that is what it is. Other than that, let's see. My wife's birthday was last week. It was a big one. I'm not going to say which big one it is because I'm not allowed to talk about it. And she says age is not defined by a number, and we're just going to leave it at that. But we did have that yesterday. And I also got my Reddit Secret Santa gift in the mail yesterday, which was pretty exciting. If you guys weren't aware, Reddit does a Secret Santa every year. It's on redditgifts.com, and I've participated the last 4 or 5 years in a row now. And I enjoy doing it because, you know, I think this year they had 113,000 people doing it, and that's just pretty awesome for a giant Secret Santa pool. So I received my gift in the mail yesterday, and it was from, I don't know who, because some random person on the internet, but they got me a copy of the board game Everdell, which I'm really excited about. It's a game that I've wanted and had on my wish list for a while now, so very happy to receive that. I also sent out my Secret Santa gift to my person, and I know they received it, but they haven't posted about it yet, so I'm eagerly waiting that to happen. So yeah, other than that, you know, playing a little bit of WoW here and there. Battlegrounds launched, playing a bit of Planetside 2 here and there, playing no Planetside Arena, which I'll talk about in a minute. But yeah, I guess that's the perfect segue. What's in store for this week's show? Well, first, there is that news about Planetside Arena I just hinted at. Basically, it's over, folks. I'm going to go into all the details about the cancellation of Planetside Arena, as well as my thoughts on the game that never really was. Then I'm going to shift over to a game that's still in development, Planetside 2, and talk about their dev live stream that finally happened on the 11th. And then we had 2 PTS updates that followed shortly afterward on the 12th and 13th. So strap in as we hot drop into another episode of the Instant Action Podcast. So first up this week is that news about the cancellation of Planetside Arena, and that was pushed out via a development team message from Andy Seitz, and he wrote, hello everyone, after careful consideration, we've made the difficult decision to shut down Planetside Arena servers. While our team set out with an ambitious vision for a game that combined the massive scale combat and camaraderie of Planetside through a diverse collection of new game modes, it has become clear after several months in early access that our population levels make it impossible to sustain the gameplay experience we envisioned. As a result, Planetside Arena will formally shut down servers on January 10th, 2020 at 5 p.m. Pacific. We are actively working with Steam to ensure that all players who made purchases during early access will automatically receive a full refund to their Steam wallet after servers shut down in January. Thank you again for your loyalty and support during beta and early access. Your feedback was invaluable, and your enduring passion for Planetside remains the bedrock our community is built upon. As painful as it is to close this chapter so quickly, We remain deeply committed to this franchise and look forward to continuing this journey through the Planetside universe with all of you. Andy Seitz, executive producer, Planetside's franchise. So that was not surprising that it came out, but still surprising at the same time that it happened. I mean, if we sit back and think about it, we haven't heard anything regarding Planetside Arena for a month. You know, they dropped that capture the flag team mode about a month ago, and then it's been radio silence from Planetside Arena ever since. So I'm absolutely not surprised at all that the game is shut down. And I have a lot of questions regarding it, you know, about its shutdown and stuff like that. I mean, did they know that this was going to happen when the layoffs occurred? I mean, I'm still salty about the layoffs of a lot of people that I consider friends at Planetside 2, or Daybreak Games. And now that Planetside Arena has, quote-unquote, officially failed, I'm looking more at it with the view that they fired people who knew everything about Planetside 2 and were taking it in a direction that felt good or okay or sustainable, and replaced those people with maybe more tenured people at Daybreak Games who have now were working on a failed spin-off of a Planetside type of game, and that concerns me. Now, maybe that's not really the case, but being someone on the outside looking in, that's the way I see it. You know, you got rid of a bunch of people who were dedicated to Planetside 2 and replaced them with a bunch of people who were working on a failed IP. And I'm sorry, that's the way that I'm going to see it until I see something, in print that, or via somebody at Daybreak Games telling me I'm wrong and telling me exactly why I'm wrong regarding that. That's the way that I feel on this particular thing, that they got rid of a lot of good people and people that were doing good work to replace them with people who produced something that ultimately failed in the end. And if you guys listened to last week's show, I talked a lot about that Marvel game that never happened, and how one of the people working on the game said that there was a lot of cronyism and favoritism, and it just, after reading that article and then hearing Planetside Arena failing, it really feels like those two were mirror images of each other. Now, again, maybe I'm wrong, and I hate disparaging folks at working on a game that I love. But right now, that's totally how it looks like from the outside looking in, at least from my eyes. And there's been quite a lot of talk about the failure of Planetside Arena right now. Many people saying that this was the ultimate I told you so, that a game company didn't listen to its fan base and they kind of shot themselves in the foot regarding this. Other people are talking about the massive amount of money that was sunk into a game like this and then ultimately failed and potentially cost a lot of people their jobs. There's a whole Reddit post out there where Brian Burness left a pretty cryptic tweet about calling it officially Planetside Battle Royale and how it was a waste. And he then writes, to all of you who know who you are, which I wonder who those people are, he says, was I wrong about any of it? I will gladly accept the title of You're Not Wrong, but You're an Asshole. He then says, am I wrong about what's coming? Please prove I am. I'm begging you here. This is only slightly less painful to watch from the outside. Again, such a cryptic and ominous tweet makes me feel, I don't know how to feel. And I mean, it's just that tweet or that message alone makes me very scared about the future of Planetside 2 at this point. I wish I knew more about what he was alluding to in his comments regarding it. I mean, he does clarify a little bit, saying that this is just people trying to make money. It's why the game was made. and it's why one day, like all games, it will die. Clearly, he was on the different side of the fence. He is interested in making a game to be a game versus people who are interested in making a game so that it's a product. It's a very cryptic and ominous message that Brian Burness threw out there, and it makes me worry that they're about to start taking a lot of these ideas that were created for Planetside Arena and trying to bash them into Planetside 2. Maybe that's not exactly what's going to happen, but I mean, other people are wondering the same thing. Are we going to see a capture the flag mode coming to Planetside 2? Are we going to see that never revealed Sunderdome coming to Planetside 2, which a lot of the stuff in Planetside Arena doesn't translate to Planetside 2 as a massively multiplayer online game. Battlefield Arena really more translated to any of the Battle Royale games, or closer to a Battlefield or a Call of Duty game where it's small groups fighting small groups, not the massive scale that Planetside 2 is. Regardless, looking back at the life of Planetside Arena, it died a pretty quiet death in the end. It flashed hot to begin with, and then obviously when no players were playing it after a few days because it was just another Battle Royale in the long list of Battle Royales, and then when it was talked about at the same time that Apex Legends was released, and Apex Legends is such a huge hit right now, the writing for me was just on the wall from the beginning for Planetside Arena. And as much as I love the Planetside franchise, Planetside Arena was never the direction that I wanted to see them go in. I wanted to see them continue in Planetside 2, that massively multiplayer game. So, like my tweet this week, RIP Planetside Arena. For me, you won't be missed, but maybe some of your assets will make it over to Planetside 2. Moving back to Planetside 2, now that Planetside Arena is dead, I think that we can all agree that all the resources now are going to be going into Planetside 2, and that was kicked off clearly by the most recent dev live stream. And I was upset when they pushed this back, but at least it did happen on the 11th. And just like I expected or had said in previous shows, Andy's site sat right in the middle. And then Rel was on the left side of the screen and Cardo was on the right side of the screen, just like I think it should be. Those are the three main faces now of Planetside 2. And before I even talk about what they went over on the dev live stream, Andy and Cardo are just much more outgoing and talkative people than Rel can be. It really showed itself at the beginning of this video. And of course, I'll include a link to this in this week's show notes if you missed it and wanted to go back and watch it to see some of the stuff physically that I'm going to talk about. But I do hope that Rel jumps in more often at the beginning of the shows rather than sitting there quietly, especially if they do more dev live streams in the future. But it was a quick live stream. They didn't show off a ton of stuff. They showed off the new winter-themed biolab, which looks pretty cool, I do have to say, and really fits the Esamir theme. I hope that going forward, they change all the biolabs on Esamir to be like this. I feel that Esamir as an ice planet, and they have the crashed biolab in there as well, that I think leaving the Esamir biolabs in a winter theme is not a bad idea, and I hope they consider keeping it like that. And maybe they can think about turning the Indar ones into some sort of sandy ones, not really a biolab, so to speak. And maybe because Indar has different biomes throughout it, that maybe one of them will be like the winter one, but a sandy edition. And then any ones that are in more of a tropical or lush area, they can actually have the real stuff in them. And then for Amrish, I'd leave Amrish the way they are. And for also Hassan, I'd leave Hassan the way they are, because those are more, they're not like a desolate landscape like Esamir and some of the sandy areas of Indar are like. So that would be a cool thing I'd like to see. They did state that they are going to be pushing out PTS updates more frequently, which is a good thing because, looking back on this, it had been 2 months since we got a PTS update. The last one before this was on October 10th. So to go 2 months without something hitting the PTS, and again, a lot of stuff we know came to live without making it to the PTS first, which irks a lot of people when stuff like that happens. So I was happy that they said they were going to do more PTS updates and do it more frequently. I mean, even if they do something once a week, I'd be happy with that. Just push more stuff to the PTS. But back to stuff that they showed off. They did state that the next update is going to be very NSO heavy. They showed off the new NSO sniper rifle. They showed off the new NSO javelin vehicle. And for those who played Planetside Arena, it's basically the Tempest and has moved over to Planetside 2, or will once the game update comes out. They showed off the new Defector NSO Max unit. And then they spent some time showing off the Sanctuary itself. And Cardo spent some time talking about what they think the Sanctuary could do, the imagery of the Sanctuary, different things like that. And I will say, any of the devs that are listening to this, I give you 100% permission to use any of the Instant Action Podcast images or assets in the Sanctuary anytime you want. There's a lot of niches with different pictures up and stuff like that. If they ever wanted to take the Instant Action Podcast imagery, I'd be more than happy to give them 100% permission to do it. And also, as I've said in the past, I'd be more than happy to voice anything in the game you want. If you have a vendor in game that's selling stuff and you need somebody to voice that vendor and you want somebody different, I'm sitting right here at my computer every day. I'd be more than happy to do something like that to help support the game. And I would, as always, I would do it free of charge. So there's certainly that. Again, it was a very short dev live stream. There was a lot of downtime at the beginning where they were testing, audio and video and stuff like that, getting it to work before they even went live. And then looking back on the whole thing, it was kind of a head scratcher why they delayed the live stream to begin with. I feel like the stuff that they showed off here, clearly the NSO stuff wasn't ready when they wanted to do it, but I'm still scratching my head why they didn't have an anniversary live stream. They always do. It just they should have done that. And I feel like the few little things that they showed off in this dev live stream still wasn't everything the community was asking for, and still makes a lot of people wonder why it had to be delayed as much as it did. And I mean, I understand if stuff's not ready, but you could talk about it, you could show renders of it, anything like that, just to kind of whet our appetites rather than continuously delay it. But again, I want to say that I'm happy that we at least got a live stream and it didn't get delayed again. As I said in the beginning, I'm going to include a link to it. You guys should go and watch it so you can actually see this stuff on your screens as well. But I'm going to talk about the majority of the stuff that's in here on the PTS updates next. So the first of 2 PTS updates was released on December 12th. That's my wife's birthday. And starting off, it's very Nanite Systems Operatives heavy, like I said it would be. So the nice thing about the PTS update, though, is they have unlocked NSO for all players on the PTS. Not on live, but on PTS. If you wanted to go play around with one of the NSOs before you actually buy membership, now you will be able to do that on the PTS. And I hope that they kind of leave that there for the future as well. there's nothing better than getting more and more people to test something out if they have access to it. So restricting access to only members kind of didn't really make sense. So it will be good for you to go check these out if you're curious. So first is that the new sniper rifle for the NSOs. It's the SR200. It is a bolt action sniper rifle. It's going to cost 1,000 certs or 699 daybreak cash. They're also offering a fully loaded bundle for 899 daybreak cash. So it's 1,000 certs, $7 for just the gun, $9 for a fully loaded bundle. The fully loaded bundles always make the most sense to me personally. It is a traditional bolt action rifle, and it has a balanced reload speed and a couple different attachments available for it, which are things like an infrared scope on it, a 4X scope. It also has a suppressor on it. It has something called a counterweight on it. It has a ballistics computer attachment and also a zip light attachment to it. I'm not 100% sure what those other two do, but more than anything, this just shores up the fact that NSOs never got a sniper rifle in their original launch, so this fixes that. Next up, they're also getting access to the Javelin, which is out on the PTS. Javelin is basically a reskin of the Tempest itself from Planetside Arena. It is a light transport and reconnaissance unit. It floats, so it's got the maglev technology. It does have an open rumble seat on the back, and it does come with a weapon of a rocket launcher on it. It fires a volley of rockets. It is in only its prototype state right now, so that means you're going to need to wait because there's going to be updates to it when it actually comes out live. But again, it's just out there on the PTS right now. And then the third new thing that the NSOs get is the new Defector Infantry class. It is now their max unit. Has the same restrictions of maxes, the long revive time, has to be repaired for heals, can't enter certain vehicles. It is a little more agile than the typical max unit, and it also has less resistance to damage, though. It comes with a grenade launcher as a primary weapon that overheats with heavy use. It also has access to two abilities. The first turns it into a walking time bomb, and the second creates a bubble shield that protects nearby allies. This is also in just a prototype state and could get a lot of changes as it comes along the line. The time bomb feature is interesting. Let's just put it that way. You're going to have to use that interestingly because, again, it doesn't have as much damage resistance as the regular max does, so I think they're going to be killed a lot quicker. So it'll be interesting to see how people are able to use this as a jihad type thing to run into rooms and blow a bunch of people up. But will it survive long enough for that to happen? Because there's definitely a long spin-up time for the bomb itself to go off. Next in this PTS update is the winter event is turned on the PTS at least. The winter event itself is scheduled to go from December 18th through January 5th. So that tells me that we are going to be getting an official game update this week on the 18th itself, because they usually turn the stuff on the same time everything goes live. So you can expect to see the snowmen, you can expect to see the biolabs in their new frozen state, which I just talked about, and there's going to be a new directive line with rewards as well. The new directive line itself, with Tier 1, you're going to get 250 certs and one of the holiday hats. At Tier 2, you're going to win 500 ISO 4. At Tier 3, you're going to get the Merry Mess camo. And at Tier 4, the final tier, you're going to earn the Cold Heart implant and the Abominable title. For those who forgot what the Cold Heart implant is, it's an exceptional implant. And when killing an enemy with a headshot, your heat weapons receive 30% faster recovery delay and cooldown rates for 3 seconds. Also, snowmen are back, like I said. If you find them on any of the continents, they grant bonus experience for killing them. And you can also find the golden snowman as always. And if you do find that one, you do unlock the shiny gold hood ornament and a bunch of bonus experience. Also, the deployable snowman soldiers are going to be appearing in the utility slots as well. And again, don't forget those contribute to the directive progress by soaking damage. Next is the aforementioned Biolab seasonal makeover. You got winter inside the biolabs themselves. Talked about that a bit earlier. And then a new big change that's finally on the PTS is a ASP respec token. These are available in the depot. And again, they're only on the PTS right now. I would love it if these came to live next week or this week when the game update comes out. I think they're probably in a good state as long as there's no bugs with them. But again, they're under the depot, and they cost 5,000 certs. There is no monetary cost for these. It's just straight up certs to unlock an ASP respec. So if any of you have been sitting on a whole bucket load of certs and need them to spend on something, and you don't like what you spent for ASP, this is an easy way to do it. And then finally, some other miscellaneous changes, fixes, and additions. They fixed it where platoons can now once again enable squad recruitment outside of the Alpha Squad. They fixed some bugs on the world map screen. They fixed the world map screen to showcase lock states better and added some other visual improvements. You should no longer be able to clip beneath the ground while crouching. They adjusted the description for the Amaterasu. They improved some visuals on shield impact and shield depletion particle effects, which is good because I have a hard time discerning when somebody still has their shield or it's completely gone. They fixed some other typos. They also changed the cold heart a bit so that it now also passively applies its 20% cooldown speed to heat-based tools like the repair tool and the med tool at all times. I'm sorry, not the med tool, the repair tool. The NSX, Mayhem, Exceptional, and Bounty directives have all been moved to a new specialty directive tree. The Exceptional 2 now uses the same completion numbers per tier as Exceptional 1, and that's changed from the one that was changed in the November update. So all those people that were complaining about that, they've reverted that. The NS and NSA Commando melee weapons are now properly tracking weapon medals, and the NSO Flash ATV now has access to the Mine Guard cert line. So again, there's your entire PTS update from the 12th. And let's move on to the second PTS update that dropped shortly afterwards. And again, that second one dropped the day after on the 13th. So clearly a lot of you dropped in on the 12th, played around with stuff, made suggestions, and they added some improvements immediately. So first, starting with the NSO Defector, they filled in some of the missing animations. They modified the breathing while idle. They added the grenade printer particle effects when throwing grenades, and they adjusted the projectile visuals. They also fixed it so that decals now correctly appear. They also changed its small arms resistance down a little. It used to be 80, it's now 75. And they also reduced its melee resistance, which was at 90%, and it's now down to 80%. Next, the Seraph Shield. That's the deflector ability to create a bubble. While active, the movement speed is now reduced by half. You also get an armor increase while active. It used to be 90%. It's now down to 60%. And they obviously updated the description to reflect these changes. Next, the Time Bomb. That's the second Defector ability. This ability now deactivates when you enter a vehicle. So that's an easy way for you to kind of turn it off. And I know a lot of people were speculating that you'd turn this ability on, jump into a vehicle, and then fly somewhere and drop on the top of something and then basically drop out an exploding max on top of people. So it's good to see that they've made it so you can't necessarily do that. Also, though, when you're in your time bomb ability, it's going to reduce movement speed by 25%, which I don't agree with, but we'll have to play around with that. And they did significantly lengthen the energy recovery time after use. Next, the NSO Javelin got some updates as well. They reduced its fall and collision damage. They also moved the second player mount further up the seat. That was to reduce clipping through walls when parked against one, because obviously people would exploit that. And they also reduced the nest launcher damage. They adjusted its homing capabilities and also added a third-person firing audio to it. Then finally, there were some other miscellaneous changes and fixes. This is a big one. Vehicle cockpits are no longer incorrectly faction tinted. I know a lot of people were very happy with that fix, which is hilarious. The Flash ATV now receives less fall damage than before. And they also fixed an issue that could cause players to spawn beneath the floors of buildings. They're still actively investigating some edge cases, but they're hoping that this bug should be reduced with the update. I know I, for one, get this bug constantly when I play my NSO character, so I'll be happy if that does get fixed. So again, not a lot in this update, mostly just tweaking the defector and things like that. I expect to see a few more updates like this after the next game update comes out with other things like this as well. But that's going to be it for this week's show, so let's push on to housekeeping.
Housekeeping. Housekeeping.
Come back later, please.
Housekeeping.
Not now.
Housekeeping.
Go away.
I coming anyway?
So I did get one email this week. It was from Hybrid, and Hybrid was just, alerting me to the demise of Planetside Arena, and I responded to him via an email right back to him regarding it. And I think I've covered it was just a very short comment about, now I only have to podcast about one game instead of two games now. But I think I covered everything regarding the demise of Planetside Arena at the beginning of the show. So that's going to be it for this week's show. As always, how can you get in touch with me or the show itself? Your first stop should be to visit my website, www.instantactionpodcast.com. You should email me like Hybrid did at instantactionshow@gmail.com. You can also call me and leave me a voicemail at 347-4VM-4PS2. Those digits are 347-486-4772. And finally, please follow the show on Twitter at InstActPodcast. But in closing, if you've enjoyed the show, please leave me a review on your podcast listening avenue of choice, whether it's iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, or anywhere else. Also, feel free to tell your friends and outfit mates about the show. And finally, thanks for listening, and keep spamming that join combat, formerly known as Instant Action button. Derringer out.
Some say it may even be kind of like a snow globe, if you
Yes.
will.
A winter
it is-
wonder lab is
Hey,
Rel
Truly
coined it.
is.
All right.